Good morning. Today, I want you to understand something simple but powerful. God is never passive in your life. He watches, He comforts, He works. We live in a world full of chaos, pain, and uncertainty. Sometimes it feels like the weight of life is too heavy. But I want you to know today that God is not distant. He is not unaware. He sees every tear, hears every prayer, and knows every struggle. God watches. Before He acts, God observes. He knows the battles you face, both seen and unseen. Your circumstances are never a surprise to Him. You might feel alone, overlooked, or forgotten, but God is watching. The same God who cared for David in the cave, Joseph in prison, and Daniel in the lion's den is watching over you today. God comforts. God doesn't just watch from a distance. He draws near to comfort you. In your pain, His presence brings peace. In your fear, His Spirit brings courage. The Bible says He is close to the brokenhearted. That means no matter how heavy your burden, His comfort is personal and timely. God works. Finally, God works. Watching and comforting are not passive acts. They lead to action. God works behind the scenes, orchestrating circumstances, opening doors, closing doors, and turning setbacks into setups. What looks like delay is often divine preparation. What seems like waiting is God working for your good. So today, I encourage you, don't give up. Don't despair. Don't live in fear. God is watching, He is comforting, and He is actively working in your life. Trust Him, rest in Him, and watch how He turns your situation into a testimony. Remember, God is never late. He is never absent, and His love never fails. When we say that God watches, we are not speaking of a distant deity who occasionally glances down on the world. We are talking about a God who is intimately aware of every detail of your life. He sees the struggles that you try to hide, the tears you brush away when no one is looking, and the prayers you whisper in the quiet of the night. God watches not out of curiosity, but out of love. Every moment of your life matters to Him. When life feels chaotic, confusing, or unfair, you might think that the world has forgotten you, that people don't notice your pain, and even that God is preoccupied with bigger matters. But the truth is, God is observing your life more closely than you are. Nothing escapes His notice. Consider the story of David, the shepherd boy who became a king. David spent years in the fields tending sheep, and then years fleeing from a jealous king who sought to take his life. In those lonely valleys, when he was afraid and hungry, when his only companions were the sheep and the wind through the hills, God was watching. He saw every act of faith, every tear shed, every prayer offered in desperation. God's watching was not passive, it was intentional. Every trial David endured, God observed and weighed, preparing him for the future He had planned. The same God who watched over David watches over you. God watches because He cares about the details of your life. The Bible tells us in Psalm 34:15 that the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and His ears are attentive to their cry. God's attention is active. He is not like a distant figure who checks in occasionally. He is constantly aware of your joys, your fears, your challenges, and your victories. Nothing in your life is too small for Him to notice. When you feel overlooked, when your efforts seem unnoticed, remember that God sees every act of obedience, every choice made in integrity, and every step taken in faith. God watching also means that He sees the unseen. People may see only the surface, your exterior, your public persona, or the outcomes of your labor. God sees the heart. He understands your motives, your intentions, and your struggles in ways that no one else can. Sometimes we think that because others cannot see our work, our prayer, or our suffering, it is meaningless. But nothing goes unnoticed by God. Every sacrifice, every moment of patience, every silent tear is seen by Him. This is deeply comforting because it assures us that our life has eternal significance even when it feels invisible in the eyes of others. Moreover, God watching is often the first step toward God acting. His observation is never idle. When God watches, he is assessing, planning, and preparing. He sees opportunities to guide, open doors, or intervene at the perfect time. Sometimes we grow impatient because we expect immediate results or visible change. But God's watching is the precursor to his working. He is studying the circumstances, orchestrating events, and aligning people in situations so that when he moves, it will be decisive, perfect, and transformative. Finally, understanding that God watches provides profound reassurance in seasons of fear or uncertainty. Life is unpredictable. Storms come without warning, relationships falter, careers shift, and health can fail. Yet in all these moments, God is observing, not in judgment, but in care. He is attentive to your cries, mindful of your needs, and fully aware of your potential. Knowing that God watches should encourage you to keep walking in faith, to maintain integrity, and to persevere, because your life is never hidden from his eyes. God watching is also personal. It is not a generic gaze over humanity, but a focused attention on you. He knows your name, your circumstances, your dreams, and your struggles. He watches over your family, your work, your home, and even the private moments that no one else sees. This truth should transform the way you live, because knowing that God watches means you are never alone, never ignored, and never forgotten. When we say that God comforts, we are speaking of a divine presence that comes close to us in our moments of pain, fear, and despair. Life has a way of breaking us, sometimes slowly through the grind of disappointment, and sometimes suddenly with events that leave us shocked and overwhelmed. In these moments, it is easy to feel isolated, abandoned, or powerless, but the truth is, God does not remain distant when we suffer. He draws near. His comfort is personal, tender, and purposeful. It is designed to bring peace to a troubled heart and courage to a weary soul. Comfort from God is not always loud or dramatic. It does not always come in the form of immediate solutions or miraculous interventions. Often it comes quietly through a sense of his presence in the midst of your storm. You may not see him with your eyes, but his spirit whispers reassurance to your spirit. When grief, anxiety, or confusion threatens to overwhelm you, God's comfort is like a gentle hand on your shoulder, reminding you that you are not alone. It is a peace that surpasses understanding, a calm in the midst of chaos that human wisdom cannot produce. Throughout Scripture, God's comfort is evident in how he draws near to his people. In the Psalms, David repeatedly testifies that God's presence is his refuge in times of trouble. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit, it says in Psalm 3:18. Notice the specificity of this promise. It is not for those who are always happy, wealthy, or successful, but for the brokenhearted and the crushed in spirit. God's comfort meets you exactly where you are, in your pain, in your doubt, in your moments of weakness. It is not conditional on perfection. It is anchored in his love. God comforts because he understands the human condition. He knows our limitations, our fears, and the weight of our burdens. He does not dismiss our struggles or tell us to simply toughen up. Instead, he walks with us, bearing part of the load and strengthening us to endure. This comfort is active, not passive. It reassures us, strengthens us, and gives us the courage to face life's difficulties. When sorrow comes, God provides a refuge. When anxiety threatens, he provides a peace that is steady. When doubt rises, he reminds us of his faithfulness. Sometimes God's comfort comes through other people, through friends, family, or even strangers who are instruments of his grace. And other times it comes through his word, offering promises that anchor our hope. And sometimes it comes through prayer, where we are reminded that we can cast every care upon him because he cares for us. The means may vary, but the purpose is always the same: to restore, to encourage, and to remind us that we are deeply loved and not abandoned. God's comfort also has a transformative power. It does more than soothe Temporarily, it strengthens us to endure and equips us to grow. In comforting us, God prepares us for the next season of life. It is often through his comfort that we find clarity, renewed strength, and perspective. Pain, when met with divine comfort, becomes a teacher, a crucible that shapes our character and deepens our faith. Comfort does not always remove the problem immediately, but it removes the despair, giving us the ability to persevere and to trust. Finally, God's comfort is constant and reliable. Life may be unpredictable, people may fail us, and circumstances may overwhelm us, but God's presence is unwavering. He never grows tired of comforting, never runs out of compassion, and never stops loving. His comfort is a safe harbor in the storms, a light in the darkness, and a reminder that no matter what happens, we are never truly alone. When we embrace God's comfort, we gain courage, hope, and the ability to face each day with confidence, knowing that he is with us every step of the way. When we say God works, we are speaking of a divine activity that is deliberate, purposeful, and unstoppable. Life often presents situations that feel out of control. We experience setbacks, disappointments, and delays, and we are tempted to think that nothing is happening, that God is distant, or that our prayers are unanswered. But the truth is, God is always at work. His hands are never idle. Even when the circumstances around you seem chaotic or hopeless, God is orchestrating events, moving people, and opening doors to fulfill his plan for your life. What looks like delay is often preparation. What appears to be silence is often a time of careful, unseen work. God works in ways we cannot always see or understand. Like a masterful artist who steps back from the canvas to evaluate, God is shaping the circumstances of your life, positioning you for blessings and breakthroughs that you may not yet recognize. Sometimes the work of God is visible, like when a prayer is answered immediately or a sudden opportunity arises. Other times it is hidden, working quietly behind the scenes. Perhaps he is guiding the people you encounter, directing the timing of events, or closing doors to protect you from what is not good. Every action is intentional, and every move is purposeful. Nothing is random in the work of God. God works through your life, but he also works for your life. This distinction is important. God is not passive, waiting to see if you will figure things out on your own. He is active, pursuing your good. Romans 8:28 tells us that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Notice that it says all things, not just the easy moments, not just the victories, not just the times when life goes according to plan. God works even in the setbacks, in the disappointments, and in the storms. Even when we feel that nothing is going right, God is at work, turning circumstances into opportunities, difficulties into lessons, and trials into testimonies. Sometimes God's work requires patience on our part. We want immediate results. We want instant answers. But God works according to his timing, not ours. His plan is perfect, even when we cannot see it. A seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It requires time, nurturing, and the right conditions to grow. So it is with the work of God. What may appear dormant or delayed is actually growing beneath the surface. Every challenge, every trial, and every moment of waiting is part of God's careful work in preparing you for something greater. God also works through ordinary means. He uses people, opportunities, challenges, and even your own mistakes to accomplish his purposes. He can take a closed door and redirect you to a better one. He can take a failure and turn it into a lesson that propels you forward. He can take what the enemy intended for harm and transform it into something that brings blessing. The work of God is always redemptive, always purposeful, and always focused on his ultimate plan for your life. Importantly, God's work is not limited by human understanding. We often try to measure success, timing, and results by what we can see. But God operates on a higher level. He sees the end from the beginning. He knows the connections between events and the paths of people that we cannot perceive. Even when life feels confusing or unfair, God is working for your good, aligning circumstances in ways that will ultimately bring glory to Him and blessing to you. His work may require faith on your part. Faith to trust that what you cannot see is already in motion. God works persistently. He never stops. Even when we falter, when we doubt, or when we fail, God continues to work. His work is not contingent on our perfection, but on His faithfulness. He continues to orchestrate, intervene, and guide. And when His work is revealed, it will be evident in ways that surpass your understanding. Situations will change, doors will open, relationships will be restored, and victories will come that could only have been prepared by Him. When we embrace the reality that God works, it changes how we respond to life. We stop panicking over delays. We stop questioning the outcome of setbacks. We start trusting that God is actively involved in our lives, even when we cannot see the full picture. We learn to cooperate with His work by walking in faith, maintaining hope, and persevering through challenges, confident that the hand of God is moving for our good and His glory. When we say that God's timing is perfect, we are acknowledging a truth that is often hard for us to accept. Life rarely moves according to our schedules. We make plans, set deadlines, and dream of outcomes, but God operates on a timeline far beyond our comprehension. What seems like delay, disappointment, or waiting is often a crucial part of His perfect plan. His timing is never late, never rushed, and never arbitrary. It is deliberate, precise, and intentional, designed to bring about the greatest good for our lives. One of the greatest challenges in life is learning to wait. Waiting is uncomfortable. It can be discouraging, frustrating, and even painful. We often compare our progress to that of others, and it tempts us to think that God is not acting. But the truth is, God is always at work, even when we do not see it. Ecclesiastes 3 reminds us that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Every season has a purpose. Every delay has a reason. And every moment of waiting is an opportunity for God to prepare us, to shape us, and to align circumstances in His perfect plan. God's timing is perfect because He sees the bigger picture. While we see only the present, He sees the past, present, and future simultaneously. He understands how every event, every person, and every decision fits together in a divine tapestry. That is why what may feel like a delay is often a period of preparation. Joseph, for example, spent years in prison, seemingly abandoned and forgotten, but God was orchestrating circumstances that would place him exactly where he needed to be to save a nation. God's timing allowed Joseph to gain wisdom, experience, and perspective that could not have been gained any other way. In the same way, God's timing in your life is intentional, preparing you for what lies ahead. Perfect timing also requires patience and trust on our part. It is easy to grow impatient, to demand answers, or take matters into our own hands. But when we step ahead of God's timing, we often complicate what He intended to be simple. Waiting requires faith, a faith that trusts God's wisdom and sovereignty even when the situation seems uncertain. It requires surrender, a willingness to let go of our schedules, our expectations, and our control. When we trust God's timing, we align ourselves with His perfect plan, and we allow Him to work in ways that exceed anything we could arrange ourselves. God's timing is also protective. There are things we are not ready for, people we are not ready to encounter, and situations that could harm us if they happen too soon. By delaying certain outcomes or opportunities, God is guarding us, equipping us, and ensuring that when the right time comes, we are prepared to receive His blessings fully. His timing is never a punishment. It is an act of wisdom and care. He knows what we need and when we need it, and His delays are not denials, they are divine preparation. Perfect timing often works in ways that challenge our human perspective. It may appear slow, unfair, or confusing. Sometimes we pray and wait feeling unheard, yet God is working in ways that we cannot yet perceive. Romans 8:28 reassures us that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Even when the timing seems inconvenient or delayed, God is working every detail for our ultimate good. His perspective is eternal, while ours is limited to the moment. What seems late to us is on time according to his perfect plan. Finally, trusting God's timing transforms the way we live. It frees us from anxiety over the future, discouragement in delays, and frustration over setbacks. When we believe that God's timing is perfect, we learn to wait with hope, to act in faith without rushing, and to recognize that every season of life, whether it brings challenge, joy, or uncertainty, has a divine purpose. We got in patience, endurance, and confidence, knowing that the God who watches, comforts, and works is also the God who orchestrates every moment of our lives perfectly. When we say that God's love is unfailing, we are speaking of a love that never changes, never diminishes, and never abandons. Life can be unpredictable and often unfair. People may disappoint us, circumstances may overwhelm us, and even our own mistakes can weigh heavily on our hearts. In the midst of all this, it is easy to feel unloved, forgotten, or rejected. But God's love is constant. It is not dependent on our performance, our worthiness, or our circumstances. It is steady, reliable, and eternal. When everything else in life seems uncertain, God's love remains a firm foundation we can stand on. God's love is unfailing because it is rooted in his very nature. 1 John 4:8 tells us that God is love. That means love is not something God occasionally does. It is who he is. Loving us is not an obligation or a reaction. It is his essence. His love is perfect, unwavering, and enduring. It does not fluctuate with our moods, behavior, or achievements. Even when we fail, God's love does not fail. Even when we doubt, wander, or struggle, his love remains steadfast. This is a love that cannot be earned and cannot be lost, a love that holds us through every trial and triumph. The unfailing love of God is evident in his presence with us during life's most difficult moments. When grief strikes, when fear threatens, and when pain seems unbearable, God's love surrounds us, offering peace, comfort, and strength. Unlike human love, which can fade, waver, or falter, God's love remains constant. It does not depend on circumstances. It is not limited by distance or time. The love of God reaches across every barrier, through every hardship, and into every corner of our lives. It is a love that is relentless in pursuit, seeking to restore, heal, and redeem. God's love is also unfailing in its forgiveness and mercy. Human relationships can be conditional, fragile, but God's love is steadfast even when we fall short. He sees our mistakes, yet he offers grace. He knows our weaknesses, yet he extends mercy. His love is not diminished by our sin. Rather, it is made perfect in its ability to restore and redeem. Romans 8:38-39 reminds us that nothing, neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus. Nothing in existence can break or weaken God's love for us. God's unfailing love is also transformative. When we understand, experience, and embrace this love, it changes how we live. It gives us hope in the midst of despair, courage in the face of fear, and resilience when challenges arise. Knowing that God's love never fails frees us from the fear of rejection, the despair of failure, and the weight of guilt. It strengthens our faith, deepens our trust, and empowers us to live boldly, love generously, and forgive freely. God's love is not just something we receive, it becomes something we reflect to the world around us. Even when life seems chaotic or unpredictable, God's love is our anchor. It is a steady hand that holds us in the storm.
I'll be all right. You don't have to stay. If you've already chosen, I won't stand in your way. I can feel it in your distance, in the way you barely speak, like your heart is somewhere else now, somewhere I can't reach. I was trying just to hold us while you slowly slipped away. Now I'm left with all the silence you didn't want to say. Maybe I just held on to something already gone. I'll be fine, you can leave. You don't owe me anything. If your heart has found a way out of what we used to be, I'll be fine, don't look back. I'll survive this empty space. Not tonight, maybe not soon, but I'll learn to be okay. We don't need to fake the feeling, I can see it in your eyes. There's no reason left for staying when the love already died. Through the quiet in your voice, I can hear your choice. I'll be fine, you can leave. You don't owe me anything. If your heart has found a way out of what we used to be, I'll be fine, don't look back. I'll survive this empty space. Not tonight, maybe not soon, but I'll learn to be okay. I don't need a reason why, I can see it in goodbye. And it breaks me, yeah, it does, but I won't ask you to stay. I'll be fine, you can leave. You don't owe me anything. If your heart has found a way out of what we used to be, I'll be fine, don't look back. I'll survive this empty space. Not tonight, maybe not soon, but I'll learn to be okay. I'll be all right.